Right now on ABC 10 News at 4, 2 months after he was convicted in George Floyd's murder, Derek Chauvin learns his fate. He will get 22.5 years in prison. Chauvin's words to the Floyd family, plus reaction from across San Diego County. Also, more relief for California renters. The state extends its eviction moratorium. We're going to take an in-depth look at the impact. And an update on the group of migrant children housed at the convention center. Why San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria says they deserve better.
ABC 10 News at 4 starts now.
I do want to give my condolences to the Floyd family.
Convicted former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin addressing the family of George Floyd in court today after learning his fate. Chauvin was sentenced to 22.5 years in prison. Thanks for joining us. I'm Steve Atkinson. This comes after Chauvin was convicted in April on 3 counts in Floyd's murder. Our coverage begins with Camila Bernal in Minneapolis.
Of a trial court.
It's the end of a chapter.
270 months. That's 270. That is a 10-year addition to the presumptive sentence of 150 months.
Judge Peter Cahill announcing the punishment after a jury found Derek Chauvin guilty of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter for his role in George Floyd's death.
But most importantly, we need to recognize the pain of the Floyd family.
Chauvin now also faces federal charges.
Derek has played over and over in his head the events of that day. I've seen the toll it has taken on him.
I do want to give my condolences to the Floyd family.
Floyd's family speaking out about their loss.
What was going through your head when you had your knee on my brother's neck?
Prosecutors for the state of Minnesota had requested a 30-year prison sentence. Chauvin's defense attorney Eric Nelson argued that the former officer should have instead received probation and time served, or at least a sentence lower than what the law guided. But for many, it's a way to bring nationwide racial and police reform.
Do you wish that he was still here with us?
Yeah, but he is.
Through his spirit?
Yes.
In Minneapolis, I'm Camila Bernal.
And we are hearing reaction from across San Diego County to the sentencing of Derek Chauvin. Our ABC 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala is joining us live in Escondido, where community activists there say this is just the beginning of what they hope is more change. Mimi.
And Steve, they say this should be the start of holding more people accountable that they say abuse their power.
The 22.5 years, and I'm just telling you from a personal experience, it doesn't feel like it really met the mark. I think 22 years, I think life without parole is the kind of feeling that I feel from all the weight of the deaths that had no sentences.
Yusuf Miller with the North County Equity and Justice Coalition was here outside of Escondido City Hall last year, where we are right now, protesting after the death of George Floyd. Friday's sentencing of Derek Chauvin brings new hope that this will set a precedent on how in-custody deaths should be handled. But he says it is still not enough. He says too often officers are exonerated for taking the lives of defenseless people, and they need to all be held accountable. The NAACP San Diego branch president Francine Maxwell also sent a statement saying in part, "We look forward to the much-needed passing of the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. We look forward to bringing widespread accountability to officers who abuse their power to drive changes to policy and practice in the direction of justice." And we're going to have a lot more local reaction coming up at 5 o'clock. We're live in Escondido. Mimi Alcala, ABC 10 News.
Coming up at 4:30, we're also going to talk with attorney David Shapiro to break down today's sentencing. Now to the condo collapse in southern Florida. Rescuers continue to search for survivors in that rubble of that building. At least 4 people have died, we have learned, but 159 others they are still missing. The medical examiner identified 54-year-old Stacy Fang as one of those victims. And tonight, families are clinging to hope as rescuers continue to comb through that rubble looking for signs of life.
We are listening for sounds. It's not specifically, human sounds. It could be, tapping. It could be steel, kind of twisting. It could be some of the debris kind of raining down.
Today, President Biden approved an emergency declaration for Miami-Dade County, and FEMA also sent urban search and rescue teams in as well. But there is still no word on what caused this deadly collapse.
The community of Surfside has been rattled as workers continue searching for missing people. Chris Stewart is there at a nearby Catholic church that says a number of their registered families are missing.
Here in Surfside, crews have been working around the clock. Just take a look behind me. Here is that 12-story building that collapsed yesterday. You see that pile of rubble. Surfside is a small community. This is on one of the barrier islands close to Miami. And as work continues here to try and find people in the rubble, this community is looking for ways to hold on to hope.
I thought that I felt an earthquake.
It's hard for people in Surfside to know how to feel.
It feels like the Twilight Zone, kind of. It's just very eerie and sad.
How do you comprehend the damage, the lives lost, the people missing?
I'm just a little bit like a robot, kind of waiting one day at a time, 1 hour at a time to see what's happening.
For more than a decade, Father Juan Sosa has led services at his church in the shadows of the now crumbled building.
Do this in memory of me.
But this morning's Mass was more personal.
I just hope that they were out on a trip or away from Miami at this time.
He says a dozen families who live in the building are registered members of his church. He tells us 10 families are still missing.
10 of them were not accounted for, so I'm scared, I'm waiting, I'm praying.
The numbers tied to his congregation who are in the building could be larger. He says many Airbnb users and short-term renters from there would attend his services.
We had to rush here because we had to pray for all the people that were missing.
Maria Gonzalez made sure she was in the pews for this special Mass to pray for those impacted by the collapse.
I feel very sad inside because just knowing the feeling of everyone that we've lost or that we can't find, it just breaks my heart.
While prayer carries power, so does the strength of the dozens of firefighters trying to find people who might be in the rubble.
There was just a firefighter in my lobby, and he was like, I haven't slept in 2 days. And his eyes were bloodshot, and he's just soaked from the rain.
Grace Terrell felt the collapse. She lives in the building across the street.
Any person that I see is just kind of just in shock or crying, or it's just a really sad situation.
And while there are many questions still unanswered and many lives still missing, Father Sosa hopes people continue to hold on to what keeps them strong.
I'm sure that many people are looking for healing and strength, and I think they need to rely on their faith.
The process of going through this pile is a complicated process when you think of all the materials that were inside this building at the time that it came down. And on top of that, for crews, complicating the issue has been the weather, because we have seen some sporadic heavy downpours since the collapse. In Surfside, Florida, I'm Chris Stewart reporting.
And we will continue to track this developing situation in southern Florida. You can get breaking news updates with our ABC 10 News mobile app. While San Diego County is outpacing other counties in the state when it comes to vaccination rates, some groups are still lagging behind. Our ABC 10 News anchor Lindsay Pena explains how one coalition is trying to boost numbers in the African American community.
As of Friday, the San Diego County Vaccine Tracker shows more than 2.1 million people have already received one dose, and more than 1.8 million are fully vaccinated. But when you break down those numbers by race and ethnicity, you see some definite differences. In particular, with the African American population, currently at a 38% vaccination rate. It's why members of a group called the Southeastern Coalition are holding a special event Saturday.
We thought, hey, it's time for a community celebration, but with the goal of getting 400 to 500 vaccinations into the arms of people. That's our goal.
Ellen Nash and Aramik Glass-Blake are two of the people organizing the Peace March and Vax Parking Lot Party at the Jacobs Center. They believe getting those vaccine rates up for the Black community involves making people feel comfortable.
And really trying to connect them with doctors who can educate them and bring it to them, bring it in the community.
In addition to educational resources, the event will also offer free food and prizes, including Padres tickets to those who get a shot.
A celebration of being a hero, in your own community by simply getting vaccinated and being a part of building a healthy community.
Lindsay Pena, ABC 10 News.
Lindsay, tell us the Vax Party and Peace March starts tomorrow at 10, runs until 3 p.m. It is free and happening at the Jacobs Center on Euclid Avenue. San Diego County will phase out some of its vaccine sites at the end of the month. This comes with demand for vaccines down right now. Some county sites, they have already closed, including the site at Grossmont Center, which closed just last week. And if you still have not been vaccinated, there are still plenty of options. There are more than 400 locations, including pharmacies and county clinics. We have more information on 10news.com. Here's where vaccination numbers stand for our county as well. About 77% of eligible San Diegans have received at least one dose of the vaccine. 65%, they are fully vaccinated. As a reminder, everyone ages 12 and older can now get vaccinated.